Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome to the regular council meeting of October 10th, 2023. On va commencer à l'appel. Tous les membres du conseil sont présents. Item 2, the territorial land acknowledgement statement and moment of reflection, followed by the national anthem. I'll ask everyone to please stand up.
Nous reconnaissons que nous sommes sur le territoire non cédé des Anishinaabe et les terres traditionnelles des peuples Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat et Canyon-Kahaka. Nous reconnaissons notre obligation commune de respecter, d'honorer et de préserver ces terres et les ressources naturelles qu'elles contiennent.
Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, let us take a moment of personal reflection. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Item 4, adjonction, effacement ou modification, slight modification. We're going to deal with item 20, announcements before number 8. Anything else from members of council? Je pense que c'est tout, Madame Caméré-Laflamme? Yeah. So we'll move on. Item adoption of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as amended. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Conseiller Lalonde, seconded by Councillor Tarnowski. Tous en faveur? Opposed? Carried. Item 6, déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire. Hearing none. Item 7, adoption of minutes, regular council minutes of September 25th, 2023. Motion to approve the following minutes as presented. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Deakin, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. Questions, members of council on the minutes? Hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item 20. We have a few recognitions this evening. So I received letters from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officers Association in regards to 2 long service awards. So I'd like to congratulate Mr. Jason Laplante for 20 years of service. It was on the 13th day of September 2023. And Madame Millie Bordeaux for 30 years of service on the 13th day of September 2023. Alors, thank you so much, guys. I'll come down there and I'll present you this. We'll get some pictures. Mr. Laplante, you can stay for the entire meeting if you wish. I don't blame you. Merci beaucoup. Next item, présentation, il n'y en a pas. Item 9, delegations, il n'y en a pas. Item 10, consent items. Motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. Item A, request for community grants from Parks and Recreation Department for the 2023 budget. And B, minutes of the United Counties of Prescott-Russell for its regular council meeting August 24th and special council meeting of September 20th. Need a mover and seconder put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Conseiller Lalonde. I believe, Madame Guitard, you wanted to mention something in regards to consent items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So if council noticed, I took the liberty of making a small transfer from the ad hoc side of the grants to the in-kind, because we were at zero the last time that I had presented some, the request through consent items and report. So I took the liberty of transferring $293.48 in order to be able to approve the consent item. And from now till the end of the year, I would ask council if I could do that. Each time I do have a consent item, if I could transfer money from the ad hoc to the in-kind side, so that I don't have to bring in a real report to council. Obviously, you do see the budget. So with the budget, you do see if I make a transfer and how much it is and for what it is. Obviously, if it's something new, it has to go through a whole report to council. Consent items are items that are, that I do approve and answers the guideline of the grant.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Madame Guitard. I think that's been pretty much standard practice for members of council for the last number of years. Straight transfer. I mean, it doesn't affect the budget per se, and as you mentioned, it meets all the guidelines. So if members okay with that direction, yeah, we're fine. So for that, if there's no questions, members of council, I'll just call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Merci. Rapport numéro 11A, demande de modification au règlement de zonage, rapport PD 40-2023, Oasis et Limoges, que le Conseil reçoive le rapport PD 40-2023 daté du 10 octobre 2023 et recommande d'être en accord avec le comité consultatif sur l'aménagement du territoire et du département de l'aménagement du territoire de ne pas approuver la demande de changement de zonage soumise par PMJ Construction, Inc. Questions, comments, members of council? Monsieur Boudreau, did you want to speak to this file?
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Oui, c'est un dossier qui a fait beaucoup de discussions lors de la présentation au comité. Comme on mentionne mon rapport, il y a eu des changements qui ont été apportés par la compagnie pour essayer d'adresser certains des items là, qui étaient problématiques pour l'administration. Alors, mon rapport en fait part et puis c'était maintenant à l'étape de la décision du Conseil pour décider si oui ou non la demande de changement de zonage qui est rattachée à une demande de plan de lotissement peut aller de l'avant ou pas.
OK, merci beaucoup. In regards, Monsieur Bourgon, the issue seems to be from an infrastructure point of view that the road allowance, the normal 20-meter road allowance that we usually request has been submitted around 12. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, so yes, that's correct. So we do, for our normal snow removal operation, we don't have the space that we have, and we don't have the appropriate equipment to do to push the snow on one section and then go and do the snow removal afterwards. So
Okay.
it really comes down to space for our regular operation, or for the level of service that we currently have throughout the municipality.
Okay. Questions? Conseiller Lalonde?
Évidemment, ça a été une discussion intéressante au dernier planning meeting. Je dois reconnaître qu'il y a une différence de 8 mètres encore toujours qui existe, si je comprends bien, de M. Bourgon. J'aurais une question peut-être pour M. Bourgon ou pour Sylvain, à savoir, avec une différence de 8 mètres, ce qui est important comme distance, est-ce qu'il n'y a pas des solutions toujours qui nous semblent disponibles, qui pourraient adresser quand même un manque important de distance ou de largeur de cette rue-là? Je sais qu'ils ont reculé les maisons un peu, ils ont reculé le stationnement sur le terrain, les terrains de maison. Est-ce qu'il reste quelque chose qui pourrait être fait tant qu'à vous autres? Ou est-ce qu'on est vraiment à la limite des possibilités?
Merci. Monsieur Boudreau, Monsieur Bourgon? Si j'ai bien compris, du début de ce projet-là, c'était tout le temps visionner un chemin privé, c'est ça?
Bien, pour peut-être, merci M. le maire, juste pour peut-être donner un petit peu l'historique. Effectivement, la demande initiale de projet, c'était pour un projet avec une rue privée. Et puis, au fur et à mesure que le temps avançait, les promoteurs ont décidé de changer un peu leur projet là, pour permettre de vendre les unités séparément. Puis, pour le fait même, devait avoir une rue publique. Alors, de là où est-ce que la demande origine, en ayant une rue publique, les marges de recul n'étaient plus les mêmes que si c'était une rue privée. Alors, évidemment, en étant une rue publique, ça requiert ce que l'équipement, notamment pour l'opération de neige, ça serait une responsabilité municipale versus une rue privée où est-ce que c'est le propriétaire du terrain là, qui est responsable, normalement, soit par condo ou par contrat, de s'occuper du développement de la neige. Alors, pour revenir à la question de M. conseiller Lalonde, il y a un côté de la rue qui a commencé à avoir du développement jusqu'à 10 unités, comme il est permis présentement, pour continuer. Le promoteur a besoin des approbations là, pour lui permettre de continuer son projet. S'il y a des possibilités, oui, il y a des possibilités. Maintenant, c'est certain qu'il y aurait probablement une réduction d'unités. Et encore là, des discussions avec l'administration à savoir si c'est possible ou pas, mais il y a quand même eu des efforts qui ont été effectués du promoteur là, pour essayer de respecter nos critères là, au niveau du stationnement. C'est maintenant plus la question de la neige là, qui reste problématique à cet instant ici.
Merci. Any other further questions? Councillor Lorrain?
So just to bring us back, so that the way that the project moved forward was the fact that it was a private road, or were they always able to build their 10 units or whatever it was based on the project or the Planning Act requirements?
So as for the construction of 10 units, the province has adopted a new bill to allow for up to 10 units without going through site plan agreement. So this is how they were able to kickstart these 10 units. So right now it's a private site, so if ever the project ends as is, it's a driveway for these two blocks of 5 townhouses, which is a total of 10 units. So in order to go beyond that, then we need to either go through a site plan agreement or as they submitted a plan of subdivision. And coming back again, the reason for that is the developer wishes to sell the units separately versus either renting out or going through a condo. So that's the only mechanism for them to sell is to go through a plan of subdivision with a public street. And this is how the setbacks are different when you have a street versus if it's a single block lot. The project could go as is, meeting the requirements of the zoning bylaw if it was to be private.
And how many units of water and sewer have been allocated to this project at this point?
Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. So as of now, 16.
And 10 have been used, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Anything to add from the administration on this? No? OK, on va à la prochaine item. Item B, zoning bylaw amendment report PD 42 2023 400 Vars, 400 Commerce in Vars. The council received report PD 42 2023 dated October 10, 2023, and approved the zoning bylaw amendment to bylaw 2018-94 for the subject property zoned industrial park zone unserviced, exception 1, temporary expansion, exemption 4, MP2 1T4, to permit the existing temporary office trailer for a period of 3 years. Questions, commentaires, membres du conseil? Anything to add from the administration? No? Parfait. On va aller à la prochaine item, item C. Demande de modification au règlement de zonage, rapport PD 43-2023 pour le 3408 chemin Rustland à Limoges. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport PD 43-2023 daté du 10 octobre 2023 et approuve la modification au règlement de zonage afin de changer la zone de zone agricole générale, exception 11 AR, A2 11 AR, à zone résidentielle rurale AR, AR, applicable au lot détaché proposé A, et de réduire la superficie minimale du lot applicable au lot retenu B de 29 hectares à 20 hectares. Il s'agit d'une condition de la demande d'autorisation B 015-2023. Question, membres du Conseil? Seeing here none. Quelque chose à ajouter au rapport? Non, merci. Item D, Zoning Bylaw Amendment Report PD 44-2023. Again, 3408 Rustland, B016-2023. The council received report PD 44-2023 dated October 10, 2023, and approved the zoning. Excuse-moi, yeah, it's different. Okay. Oh, the wetland. Amendment to zone from general agricultural exception on 11AR, A2, 11AR, and wetland WL to rural residential RR and wetland WL applicable to the proposed severed lot A, and to reduce the minimum lot area applicable to retain lot B from 29 hectares to 20 hectares. This is a condition of consent application B016-2023. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Non? Parfait, merci. Item E, demande de modification au règlement de zonage, rapport PD 45-2023 pour le 1240 chemin Sainte-Marie en Brun. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport PD 45-2023 daté du 10 octobre 2023 et approuve la modification du règlement de zonage pour la partie détachée de zone espace vert OS à zone rurale résidentielle exception 27 RR 27 afin de reconnaître l'usage rural résidentiel et changer la disposition de la zone d'exception RR 27 pour réduire la façade minimum de l'eau de 60 mètres à 30 mètres et de permettre une superficie de plancher brut maximale de 1806 pieds carrés pour un annexe résidentiel représentant 95% de la superficie de plancher brut de l'habitation principale, alors que le règlement de zonage autorise jusqu'à 40%, 760 pieds carrés, de la superficie de plancher brut de la résidence principale. Questions, commentaires, membres du Conseil? Monsieur Lalonde.
Oui, c'était juste pour confirmer, peut-être avec M. Boudreau, que la raison pour la superficie importante au point de vue d'agrandissement, c'est parce que ça comprend un sous-sol dans le square footage. Est-ce que j'ai raison de le dire?
Monsieur Boudreau?
Merci, M. le maire. Effectivement, c'est la raison. Alors, on double la superficie. Si ça serait juste l'étage principal, la superficie respecterait le règlement de zonage.
D'autres questions, commentaires? Non? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter, M. Boudreau?
Non, merci, M. le maire.
Parfait. Next item, development charges for 2022, report FS 18 2023. The council received report FS 18 2023 dated October 10, 2023 for information purposes, prepared in accordance with Section 12 of the OREG 8298 under the Development Charges Act 1997 and authorized the report to be public information, and the council adopt the proposed bylaw amending the development charges interest policy. Need a mover and a second, or no, don't need a mover and second. Questions or comments? Seeing none, anything to add to the report? No, we're good. Parfait. On va aller au prochain item, item G. Dispositif anti-refoulement, rapport ISSW 02-2023. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport ISSW 02-2023, daté du 10 octobre 2023, et approuve le règlement proposé afin de rendre l'installation d'un clapet anti-retour obligatoire pour toutes les nouvelles installations et conversions privées. Questions, commentaires, membres du Conseil? Quelque chose à ajouter, M. Bourgon?
Juste rapidement, comme le mentionne le rapport, c'est une installation qui doit être faite dans la majorité des cas présentement. Mais dans le fond, c'est que ça simplifie. Là, pas besoin de regarder les élévations des tuyaux dans la rue. C'est quelque chose là, qui est aussi pour protéger là, tous les propriétaires de maisons.
Parfait.
Puis ça fait partie de nos recommandations d'amélioration de nos systèmes, c'est d'implémenter des règlements comme ça pour que ça soit uniforme.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup. Prochain item, next item, noise bylaw exemption request, report PIC 09-2023. The council received report PIC 09-2023 dated October 10, 2023, and approve, as recommended in this report, a noise bylaw exemption for the Russell Agricultural Society's barn dance to accommodate music to be played on October 14th from 11 p.m. until the 15th at 1 a.m. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Tarnowski?
Just a process question, Mr. Mayor. So this is coming to us like 4 days before the event itself. So if there was, for whatever reason, something turned down, should this not come earlier? And I'm not sure that we even have any control over that, but I'm just asking about the process.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's the applicant to make sure it's sooner rather than later, but Madame Bourdeau?
With all fairness, they did apply a bit earlier. We didn't bring it to the previous council meeting.
Okay.
Thinking there would be no issue. It's their first request also. The previous years, they've ended the music at 11, so this year they anticipate going a bit longer, so that's why they requested it.
Okay, perfect. Any questions, comments? Anything to add, Madame Bourdeau? No? Okay. We'll go into the next item. Item I, soils improvement at the recreation complex location, report PR 12-2023. The council received report PR 12-2023 dated October 10, 2023, and grant an exemption to the purchasing policy for a sole source contract. One, to negotiate a contract with A.L. Blair for the pre-loading, remove topsoil and add granular, and two, to negotiate a contract with Menal for the installation of the wick drains. Through you, Monsieur Bourgon, Madame Guittard, I'll let you speak to this report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this is following the geotechnical and hydrogeological investigation report that was submitted by GHD back in February 2023 concerning the quality of the soil. And like in my report, they do mention that because of the estimated clay characteristic in that area, we needed a special foundation to be laid for the recreation complex. So one system that they did suggest was a deep foundation system, which consists of steel piles driven to refusal at the bedrock. So that, try to resume all this, so they would be installing some wick drains and preload the site for a period of 3 months. So they need to compact the area where the complex will be built. And this has to be done for a minimal time of 3 months. So this is why that we would like to get this work done late this fall, obviously, so that we don't have to do this in early spring. Because if we wait in the spring, this will definitely delay the project, because if we wait 3 months, starting maybe in April, this would definitely,
Gentlemen, excuse me, guys, take quiet, thank you.
it would definitely bring a delay in the project. So in my report, I did mention that we would install wick drains, so there's a cost, and they call that the early works. And then after that, after this work, there would be some control modulus column that would be installed. But this would be done in spring, after the whole compacting of the ground is completed. See if I can go briefly through the scope of the work. It would be, they would have to strip the topsoil, then install the granular, then install those wick drains, and then the settlement monitoring plates would take over with Menard. Menard is the company that did the report for the wick drains and the whole way to do this kind of foundation. And if I can also mention, they are the ones who did the same type of foundation at the Ford building in Casselman, because they had the same type of soil over there, and it worked very good. And also, by doing this kind of foundation, we would probably be saving around $2.7 million, and just going on another type of foundation if you want. So this is why, because and A.L. Blair is already our supplier for granular through the infrastructure department, so this is why we would like to have an extension of the contract for them to supply the granular. They are equipped to supply the granular in this fall. They also have the trucks available to haul all the granular on the site for the period that we want them to do this. And Menard would be doing the work itself of the wick drains and the monitoring. And also, we would be hiring GHD to monitor the whole work during those 6 weeks period. So I would ask council tonight to give us the right to do the negotiating with A.L. Blair and also Menard. And we would be coming back to council on October 23rd to give you the exact amount of the negotiated contract, so the council is aware of the amounts that we would be accepting for the work to be performed. And on the 24th of the morning of the 24th, if everything goes well, we would give the contract out so they can start the work and be able to finish before the year end, obviously, because winter will be at the door very soon. So we would like this to be completed. They are estimating the work to be done within 6 weeks of the day of the contract awarded. So, and the budget that is estimated at this point was all part of the 8.8 million that we've accounted for the budget for the recreation complex. So this is all part of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Question, I guess, for Monsieur Bourgon. Realistically, A.L. Blair is in our municipality. If we were to entertain possibly going to another quarry, where's the closest one?
That's a good question, but farther away than the one that
Yeah.
in our municipality.
So transportation costs would obviously be a huge
So we
factor.
have the one here in the municipality, and there's the other one that owned by Blair that's just outside
Our municipality.
For the amount of stone required, we will likely need both quarry to supply, because we're looking at almost 40,000 tons of stone. So we would likely need both location to supply. But it still fall under our supply contract for our granular with A.L. Blair.
Perfect. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Lorraine and Councillor Deacon?
Yeah, so as someone who's been sitting here for quite some time, I'm never a fan of sole sourcing contracts without a very good reason. $2.7 million in savings to a project is a very good reason, in my opinion. So at this point in time, I'll vote in favor of this request. I think it makes a lot of sense to move forward with that and get that done sooner rather than later, and the cost savings is a big plus. So I will support this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Deacon?
Thank you. Yes, for the reasons that Councillor Lorraine mentioned, this isn't a decision that I take lightly, and it's a groundbreaking decision that moves us ahead in a very exciting project. But it is a project that we're moving forward with not everything clear and lined up quite yet. We are in a difficult economic time. So I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, if I may. If the work that's recommended is undertaken and the final footprint of the building is smaller than what is in the designs that we're looking at right now, what would be the effect of that on the work? Would the work need to change, be redone? So that's my first question.
Okay. Monsieur Bourgon ou Madame Guittard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So we did confirm this question with the consultants today and the architects. So it would not be a very big change into the scope of work. And even if the project is downsized, the wick drains that have been installed could just stay there. It would not be intruding in the rest of the project. And the granular could very well be used in something else, let's say with the infrastructure department. So obviously there would have been maybe some costs associated to this work that will be done, obviously, but it would not be any extra cost, let's say, to remove or to redo some work.
Just one more question, and I do recognize that it's highly technical, but I noticed in the hydrogeological report, they mentioned that subgrade soil should be visually inspected, compacted, proof rolled using Any soft, organic, or unacceptable areas should be removed. Is that something that would still happen with this work and this approach?
I very likely, yes. I can maybe confirm this with my colleague here, the engineer. But I would think so. This is also why we have GHD, who will be performing the inspection along the whole
I see.
work.
I see.
Okay.
Thank you.
T'avais-tu quelque chose à ajouter à ça, Monsieur Bourgon? We're good? Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Ternosky, and then Conseiller Lalonde?
As Conseiller Lorrain said, this is important, and so I'm going to support it, but I also have my concerns around the sole sourcing. The way this was brought to us, and I may have missed something, and I'd like to be corrected if I missed it, but in this meeting, in this package, we were told that we kind of have to do this because if we don't, we're going to fall behind in our process. The money saving obviously is a good reason, but I'm wondering why the timeline piece wasn't thought of before, or is there a reason why, it's like the last minute like that? So it says here, my other option is that the council refused the sole source option, and that's going to put us behind in the project. And so I'm just trying to understand why we're continuously faced with this kind of decision and see if there's a way we can get around that. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy to save the money, but I don't know if I'm really saving that money or more money because maybe another contractor could have done it better. I'm not saying that would be the case, but it just makes it more difficult for our decisions here.
Thank you. Madame Guittard?
Maybe I can add to to Councillor Ternosky's comment. We received the report from Menards only at the end of August. So after that, we met with the architects. So basically, it's not a very long time afterwards that we're bringing this back to council. And also, Menard is one of the very few contractors around here that do that kind of installation for foundations. So the other ones, I think, is close to Toronto. So again, we would definitely have some traveling and accommodation costs associated to the cost. And also because we felt, since they had done the report was well done, and so this is why we're recommending Menards.
So essentially, we had a study, a geological study that was done late February, March timeline that stated that there was an issue with soil. We hired Menard to do investigations, and that's where we got that report back at the end of August.
That's right. So this is when the whole thing was triggered by the GHD report. So this is all the studies started afterwards, and the architect and the consultant project manager knew that Menard did that kind of study. So that's why they hired them to do that report, and we got the report on August 16th. So right after that, we started talking about it, and this is when we decided to bring in a report to council, and definitely try to go for that option for the foundation, since, of course, there were savings of $2.7 million, which we were not aware of before.
OK. Merci. Conseiller Lalonde?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of points for clarification from me. The Class C exercise that was done that determined, that there could be a $2.7 million savings, just to clarify, that means that it could have cost $4.6 million, because if Menal is doing it for 1.4, 1.6, and the saving is 2.7, it was something that could have cost 4 point something million. I'm just wondering, so who determined that cost savings? Was it Menal who determined that? And did they do the Class C report? That would be my first question, just to clarify.
Madame Guittard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I just want to clarify, this has nothing to do with the Class C. Class C is completely different, okay? This is just a study for the soil, okay? And Menard is not doing 1.2. Menard will be charging $300,000. The granular will be costing $840,000, and GHD will be charging $22,000. So the old, if I can say, the old way of doing the foundation previously was estimated at probably around 4 point something million. So this way of doing it would be saving money,
And
and the best way to do it.
And that would have been based on the the study that was done in February, saying this is the type of typical project, this is what would
I
be
do
required.
believe, yeah.
Okay. Conseiller Lalonde?
Well, then that helps, just to clarify. So that 4.6 earlier estimate was a GHD estimate back in the day? Or the...
I could confirm that, but
that's what's being suggested here. It would have been their earlier estimate of this kind of work at 4.6 would have come from them?
yeah, no, I don't think it was from GHD. GHD, what they did is a report of the quality of the soil, and because they did it the hydrogeological and the geotech, so they did all that. So with that, they gave us the kind of soil that we had to work with. And I think at this point, there were 1 or 2 options that we were looking at, and then this option came up with Menard, and this is when the architects and the project managers said, well, you know what, this is the best way I think that we should be doing the foundation.
So it was the consultants? It was
And
the
the
architect
architects,
and
yeah.
our consultants that came up?
And the civil side of it, JLR Richards.
Any other questions or comments? Anything else to add to the report, Madame Guittard?
No, not at this time.
Parfait. Voilà, prochain item. Item J, recommandation 2023-001 du Comité consultatif des adolescents, demande de financement pour le Forum annuel des adolescents 2024. Que le Conseil reçoive la recommandation 2023-001 datée du 14 septembre 2023 du Comité consultatif des adolescents concernant le financement d'un forum annuel pour les adolescents dans le canton de Russell. Questions, commentaires, membres du Conseil? Councillor Ternowski?
So this recommendation has no dollars attached to it. Is there any additional detail? So we're being asked to support something, but
So at this point in time, we're not being asked to support anything, we're just receiving
Okay,
based on the
thank you.
recommendation.
yeah.
But I anticipate, like all other committees, this would be an item that comes up at budget discussion to look at those requests and move forward that discussion at that point in time. Councillor Deakin, you're the chair of that committee. Did you have anything to add?
Not anything big to add. The committee has met, as you know, they just got started, and we were having issues of reaching quorum with busy, bright teens at that table. So we haven't hammered out an exact budget yet, but we did want to indicate to council and to the administration that we, being tasked with an annual forum, would have a budget attached. So to be determined.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Lorrain?
So we're just accepting this report tonight.
Yeah, we're not making any decisions, it's just receiving the recommendation. Okay. Item K EAC recommendation 2023-001, increasing green and treed space. The council received the recommendation 2023-001 dated September 13, 2023 from the Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Committee with respect to increasing residential green and treed space in the township of Russell. Again, this is just receiving, being chair of the committee. It's a recommendation in regards to more on the planning side of things. So I think that'll be more of a discussion when we look at the OP and the zoning bylaw. That's where that type of discussion will move forward. Questions? Councillor Tarnowski?
Understanding that we're just receiving the information, but again, so even from a staff perspective, I would assume that it would be good to know what 10% per residential lot means, and what is treed space, and how is it different than tree cover? Because I think there's those two terms are used and they, I think, mean something different.
Yeah, Monsieur Boudreau, excuse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I think it's certainly something we'll integrate into our new official plan. More definitions and probably some strategies as to how to attain these objectives. So this is good news and certainly something we'll be working with in our new official plan, which is will be taken under pretty soon.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? No. LEAC recommendation 2023-002 food rescue program. The council received recommendation 2023-002 dated September 13, 2023 from the Environment and Sustainability Advisory Committee with respect to reducing food waste and alleviating community hunger in the township of Russell. Again, this is just receiving in regards, this was more for information purposes and validation, if you will. The committee is interested in reaching out to local food sources, whether it be restaurants, grocery stores, that kind of stuff, to see what our organizations are doing right now. For example, with the food bank, is there donations going to the food bank, that kind of stuff, to have a better understanding what's happening with our food waste. And looking at options to see what system could the township assist in trying to get some kind of program that would, try and eliminate food waste. So before they went out and started talking to local businesses, I suggested that we bring this to council table so council is at least aware. And if it's something that they wish to give direction to the committee to go ahead and start having those discussions. And once we have something more concrete, then we'd be able to put something forward as a committee, as a recommendation on what the committee thinks is a good approach. Whether it's, there's, for example, there's apps out there where, food stores or restaurants, have food left over at the end of the night. They can sell it in as a surprise bag at a discount or that kind of stuff. So it's just investigation more at this point in time. So it was just to inform council, and if council's okay with that, then the committee will continue, it'll move forward with having those discussions. Questions, comments? No? I gather that we're okay with having those discussions, and the committee will work on that. Perfect. Item M, EAC recommendation 2023-003, green space in the first phase of residential construction. The council received recommendation 2023-003 dated September 13, 2023 from the Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Committee with respect to green space in the first phase of residential construction in the township of Russell. This is, I think we've had many discussions over the years. We continuously hear of projects moving forward, and the park is not till the phase 3, 4, I think the planning department has heard that as well. So the committee is just recommending that the staff be able to look at that and see if at all possible, if parks can be installed in the first phase of a project. I know that one or two of the members come from outside the municipality, and from the municipalities they were in before, that was standard practice that the park would be installed in the first phase. So it's really just, throwing it out there, and if the administration, when they're doing their OP, official plans and that kind of stuff, if they can have that in mind. Questions? Councillor Tarnowski?
C'est plutôt un commentaire. Je sais que at the Parks Committee, we've had this discussion a few times, and what has come back from planning at the time was often parks are too far behind and there's no road access, and therefore they end up being in the third, fourth. But anything we can do to move this direction, I think would be very positive for us, especially the early residents that buy into these subdivisions. So thank you.
Thank you. I think, again, when we talk about the OP and the zoning bylaw coming forward, those are going to be part of those discussions from a strategic level. What do we want to see in those two documents? So, anything to add, Monsieur Boudreau?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just the province did adopt some new legislation, which takes a bit of the powers for the municipality for the location of the park. So it is sometimes a good idea to have the park in the first phase, but we might have some challenges in the future with that new legislation. But certainly it is wishful thinking to have a park in the first phase, for sure.
This is where it helps when we have very good relationships with our developers.
Exactly. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Moving on, next item, 12, reports from investigator and the budsmans. We have none. Item 13, avis de motion, on n'a pas. Item 14, item 14, question period on the meeting of the day. If you have a question on the meeting, if you have a question on an agenda item of this meeting, please come up to the lectern, state your name and address for the record.
Charles Armstrong, 85 Castleville. My first question has to do with the backwater valves. And I noticed included in that report was the building code, which seems to cover pretty much the same thing, because if you move or alter the plumbing in your house, you still need a permit, and you have to bring it up to code. So if the fixtures in your house are below grade or below the next above stream manhole, then you still have to put in a backwater valve. I'm just asking, why is the bylaw required in that case? And the next thing, similar, is when you do a conversion, is it possible to install a backwater valve when the conversion takes the pipe immediately out of the house at about that high off the basement floor and then out into the municipal drain? Because every model of backwater valve I've seen has to be installed in a heated area. So when it goes, normally when the pipe goes out of the basement, it drops down below the frost line, but that's too deep to install the backwater valve. Has that been thought of? How does that work?
Okay, thank you. Monsieur Bourgon, got an answer for that one?
Well, I can say, like I explained to council briefly, the reason why we're putting a bylaw, the building code does not mandate all scenarios. So that's really the reason why we're implementing a bylaw. We had several times we had that conversation with our chief building official in the last few years about that specific topic. So I believe that answers the first part of the question. In terms of installation for a private conversion, we had to do it for one of the project in the last few years. I'm not a plumber, so I cannot answer the specific. We can certainly look into it, but just.
But we have seen an example of that.
Well, exactly.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. The next question concerns the soils improvement at the rec complex location. The municipality is going to contract with A.L. Blair and Menard, and I think it was GDI. What architect engineer is the one that is accountable for the quality and ensuring that the work is done properly? Something goes wrong, who do you talk to?
Monsieur Bourgon, Madame Guittard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It would be J.L. Richards, who are the civil under the architects.
Okay.
Okay. We have a contract with J.L. Richards at the...
We have a contract with
the architects?
The architects, who has a contract with J.L.
Okay. So ultimately, it's the architect in the...
That we fall back on, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Bonjour,
Bonjour.
mon nom est Patrick Godreau, je travaille pour la compagnie de TMJ Construction en tant que directeur du développement. Ma question, c'est pour M. Jamie Lorrain. On était au comité Planning Committee il y a quelques semaines et vous aviez mentionné que vous aviez quelques commentaires par rapport aux distances qui avaient été proposées. Puis là, aussi, autre situation qu'on était capable d'amener au projet. Je ne suis pas sûr que vous avez mentionné vos commentaires.
Conseiller Lorrain, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I can speak to it. I mean, there were things that came into the report. I've spoken to staff about things, so my comments on whether I support the changes that have been made to help accommodate, at this point in time, I don't think they've gone far enough. I think we need to ensure that the road itself. Let me go back. I have an issue from a development perspective when we do one thing, say one thing, and do another, and it sets bad precedent. I've been on the planning committee for probably the better part of 15 years now, and I've seen many different things come across. And I'm not a fan of private roads, and I've said that to, I don't know if it was yourself or the other gentleman that I spoke to on the phone. I prefer roads that the township manages. And we've seen situations where it works, we've seen situations where it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, the township has to fix the problem. And with a new development, we shouldn't have to fix a problem. And for us to enable us to do that, we need a proper size road. And unfortunately, we're just not there. So if we can get there, great. I know it means changing a lot of the scale of the project, but that's the position that we're in right now. You know, the project went forward with what you were hoping to achieve with the private road, and then all of a sudden it changed, and now unfortunately we can't accommodate that. At least that's what I'm assuming and I'm hearing from council. So my comments, I didn't feel that they were required at the meeting, and that's why, you know, I would have said them either now or at the time that we were going to vote on the actual amendment. So thank you for bringing them up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. D'autres questions? No? Okay. So let's move on with the first resolution, which is A, notice motion, Councillor Mike Ternosky, promoting community health and volunteerism in Russell Township. Moved by Mike Ternosky, seconded by myself. A notice motion promoting community health and volunteerism. And it's, we all have the resolution ahead of us. Questions, comments, members of council on this one? Councillor Lalonde?
Yeah, I just want to applaud the initiative. I think the idea of giving staff and council, if it wishes, the opportunity to you know, to take on some recreational activity and with a view to being more fit or staying fit is a great idea. We did it in my company a long time ago. You know, it cut down on absenteeism, on sick leave, on a whole host of issues because what we were doing is basically making the staff healthier and happier, and it worked for us. I think it's great that it's come along at this time. I think it's going to be a real asset to the organization in terms of promoting fitness and health. So I applaud the effort.
Any other questions or comments? If that, we have Councillor Tarnowski.
J'avais juste une question pour Madame Guittard. In terms of the facility, we're okay in doing this. We're not going to overwhelm.
Madame
Thank you,
Guittard.
Mr. Mayor, members of council. I can't really confirm this because if staff all decides to go at lunchtime at the gym, we might have an overcrowded place, but I think until this happens, I can't confirm.
Councillor Tarnowski?
I would just be concerned January 1st week, but other than that, we should be good.
Or this week.
Yeah, I guess.
Merci. D'autres questions, commentaires? Councillor Deakin?
I thought that the volunteer program was a really excellent suggestion. I like how the two are paired together, getting active, being involved in the community, and so I'm really interested in seeing from the administration how these sorts of programs can be designed and hopefully in a way that really engages the staff even more in our local community.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Laurent?
I have a procedural question for Madame Camide that just came to my mind. Love the initiative. I told you earlier I'm in favor of it. Moving forward, I like both ideas, but in terms of the consideration to council from a remuneration perspective of getting a gym membership and access, is that something that has to be put into the remuneration bylaw? Because it is a benefit to members of council, and that comes under a separate bylaw. So I just want to make sure procedurally we're doing things correctly by ensuring that we're tracking it and accounting for it in a proper fashion.
Good point. We don't have our treasurer here this evening, but that's definitely something that can be, Monsieur Godin can look at, and if need be, bring back a report to council on that subject.
Okay. It just goes to all the benefits of working on council, and when the next council comes in, they look at the remuneration bylaw. If they don't see it.
Gotcha. Perfect. Councillor Tarnowski?
So I guess along the same lines of that question, I think it'd be important for us just to be sure from a tax purpose, not necessarily for us because it would have minimal impact, but for staff. So if we're just offering it to all staff, including part-time staff and everything, does it have an implication that exceeds the value of it if they're not going to use it? So just maybe to confirm that. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So I don't, like, the intent was to just have it there, whether you use it or not. But if it's a requirement to say, yeah, I want to use it, and then it becomes a taxable benefit, we shouldn't verify that, I guess.
Yeah, so that'll be noted for Monsieur Godin to review that and have a look and get back to us on that one. Okay. Any other questions or comments? So we have a mover and a seconder. It's on the floor. Councillor Lalonde? No, we already have the mover and second. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item B, motion that that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, reports from department and council committees. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Conseiller Laurent. Called for the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. New business, 17, il n'y a pas. No, excuse, bylaws. Bylaws, motion that council approves bylaws 2023-104 to 2023-108 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Deakin, seconded by Conseiller Lalonde. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 17, rapport d'affaires nouveau, il n'y en a pas. Rapport 18, item 18. Myself, Maison Interlude. This was a request, Maison Interlude, and the resolution reads that, be it resolved that the Township of Russell recognize the issues of violence in rural communities as serious to the health and wellness of local families. Furthermore, be it resolved that the Township of Russell recognize the rural Renfrew County Coroner's Inquest as important to all rural communities, and furthermore, be it resolved that the Township of Russell encourage the Province of Ontario in declaring intimate partner violence and violence against women an epidemic in accordance with the recommendation number 1 of the Renfrew County Coroner's Jury's recommendations, and furthermore, be it resolved that this resolution be sent to our local MPP, Stéphane Sarrazin. So that's available. I need a mover and a seconder to put to the floor. So moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. Questions, comments? Hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 19, consultation publique, il n'y a pas. Item 20, on l'a déjà fait. Il n'y a pas. Any other announcements, members of council? Besides, we had too much turkey this weekend? No? Councillor Deacon?
On that note, I will mention that the Russell Run is happening on October 21st. It's a great annual event, running event in Russell, so we can sign up and go for a jog to work off that turkey. And the other one is that Club Joie de Vivre is celebrating their 50th anniversary on October 21st as well. So I just wanted to thank organizers and all of the dedicated volunteers, les bénévoles dévoués, who are working to relieve the sense of isolation felt by many seniors in our community. Congratulations to them.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Lorrain?
Should we mention, Mr. Mayor, the changes to the budget working sessions?
Yeah, we can definitely mention those dates. So the October meetings have been switched to November 23 and 24th of November instead of the October days. Staff made that request and council agreed with it, so we're good. Any other questions, comments? No. With that, item 21, closed session, we have none. Confirming bylaw, that bylaw 2023-109, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Russell at its regular council meeting held on October 10th, 2023, be read a first, second, third time and pass. Need a mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Deacon. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Our next regular public meeting of council will be held on Monday, October 23rd, 2023. Councillor Tarnowski has already advised you won't be here at that meeting. Did we require anybody required to be virtual? Or we're good? We're good. Perfect. With that, we are adjourned at 7:01 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Merci beaucoup.